Howdy, folks. Welcome back to the Practical Microservices stream. Today is a lovely Friday, and I don't have the chat open, so let me fix that. There we go. Chat open. That's great. Okay. Sort of open. Twitch is loading slow. Okay, great. It's open. Let's see. We are working through the changes to the device video component that we designed in to deal with that nasty little concurrency issue. So, I don't know. For once, I don't have anything else to say, so let's just jump into it. Excuse me. All right. So, yesterday, Ethan took some notes, which were nice. We're resuming refactoring the tests with test automated handle events requested previously fetch star. And then we also need to change the consumer starts to consume from the correct categories. So let me make an entry for today, just in case we have some notes to take. And then what was it? Previously fetched. Right. We renamed that right at the end of the day. So we've got quite a few things here. That's fine. All right. Let us open that then. So test automated handle events requested previously fetched retrieved. What are we handling? We're handling requested events. And this is the situation in which we would be writing the retrieved, because now we have the thing that we're, oh, you know what? Actually, I had a thought. This is always dangerous. I had a thought between yesterday and today. And I'm thinking that this event is now not even needed. We could just do this in the command handler. The command handler fires, does everything that this handler is doing, writing the fetched and retrieved as an atomic write. I don't think we need this event at all, come to think of it. Instead of just always writing a requested, we can just completely do away with the requested event. No, that'll work just fine. Right, I was thinking it wouldn't because we need a trigger to tell the later requests that we're getting, that we have the file now, but they'll do it. So now the handler will get to this one, just start fetching it, fetch it, write the fetched and retrieved at the same time. Then the subsequent commands aren't getting handled because that's being handled by this consumer, and the consumer only does one thing at a time. Hey, SB Ditto. How are you doing? Good to see you. Happy New Year to you. I don't think we've spoken since then. Or Twitch chatted since then. Still alive and Happy New Year. Nice. Hey, so I don't know. There was a concurrency bug with the composite and device video thing. One second. I want to pull up the old model here to describe it to you. Don't know if you've seen this yet. All right, so let's come back here. Here is the old model. I stopped cheapoing out and I'm paying for Lucidchart now, so not using draw.io for this. But here was the problem that we would have, and designed a solution. We're just coding through it right now, and I think the solution can be simpler still. But this is, in this one over here on the right, we have two different composite videos that are requesting the same clip from the same camera. And so that retrieve command comes in, and in our previous design, we would just write a requested. And then there would be a consumer on this stream right here that would handle the requested. Notice, oh, this hasn't been fetched yet. So it would start fetching it. And when it did, it would write a fetched event. While that was happening, the second composite video would come in requesting the same clip. And the handler for this command then would write an event to the requested. And the issue we were having was when this handler started up, when it got its requested, it would fetch it from the store along with the version. Then it starts the long running process of actually retrieving the file. Well, in the meantime, other request comes in, and now this command handler writes a requested event so that when this handler goes to write the fetched event having fetched the video, it would get an expected version error because now the stream is at one version higher than when we originally did the projection. So I think it was earlier this week, or it might have been towards the end of the year last year. It was towards the end of the year last year. The streams were all about designing a fix for that. So where we ended up 2 days ago was just having retrieve, write, requested to a different category. So there was this device video requests category here. So then the handler on requested would project the device video category down here, which is where the fetched and retrieved events would go. And when it doesn't find the video, is it okay to just retry? Yeah. Let's see. So if we retried, if you got an expected version error, we could just reproject and retry. Potentially, I'm worried, like in this specific example, probably that would have been fine because the only kinds of events that would be written would be either, at that point, it could only be another requested event coming in. Yeah, went through that, the not writing with an expected version, and that one kind of offended my sensibilities a little bit, so didn't go with it. But I think in thinking through this again, got a solution that, yeah, to write without an expected version kind of felt wrong. Like, I don't mind that for commands so much, but it just didn't seem right for an event stream to do that, even though in this particular case, what was the risk? Well, we weren't going to get a second fetched event. I think I have in my notes what I thought of that. Will lead to duplicate messages if we ever run two instances on the same workloads. And so seeing two fetched messages in the stream, it wouldn't be like seeing two deposits at the same time. But I wanted to avoid that if we could. Do a third-party request that it's possible to retry. Yeah, that's fair. Well, let me show you what we got and pick this apart if you can. And by if you can, I mean if you see any flaws with it, because it may be good. So there's going to be two steps to this. One is where we were Tuesday, and then I think we can make it simpler still. And so we're having the command write a requested event always. That's all the command handler ever does. But when we're handling the requested, instead of projecting the same stream that the requested events are in, we're projecting then the device video category down here, which is where the fetched and retrieved events will go. And then the further change is to take advantage of the fact that we can write more than one message atomically as long as it's to the same stream. So when we're handling the requested that actually does the fetching of the clip, it's going to write the fetched event as well as the corresponding retrieved event for that request. So then when the next requested gets handled, the video will already be fetched. And so now it's just, oh, hey, cool, it's been fetched. Let me write the retrieved. And I think this can be simpler still. I don't think this event is needed at all. And this is what I was prattling on about when you joined. So if we got rid of that event altogether, I think then the retrieve command handler could just go fetch the thing and write the retrieved event. Like, I don't think adding this event adds anything except for extra messages and complexity. So that is what I'm currently rolling with. Well, I guess what I'm currently rolling with was having the requested event, but I think we can make it simpler still, like so. So if you want to noodle on that for a bit, do so. And I'll watch the chat to see if anything comes to mind why that might not work so well. Or maybe I'll just fiddle with Lucid Chart instead to try to get the arrows better. I think if I pull out, here we go. Like, oh, look at that fantastic arrow routing there. So if we did that, then a whole bunch of things could be scooted over to the right, but I'm not going to do that. Dog going ballistic. Okay. Yeah, think on it. I think I'm going to go over this as the next meetup as well, because I think it's a subtle little thing. It was how learned about it, had some friends who are building something with Eventide, and they had a similar setup where there was a long running process and a fetch like this, probably not quite as long as retrieving a video from a remote camera would be, but they were hitting the error, and it like wasn't causing any incorrect results. It was just, wait, why is our component restarting all the time? So anyway, with that change, then this is not actually what we're going to do. So let me get rid of this next right here. I don't put these notes to myself, just going to forget everything. So we can make the design simpler still by removing the requested event entirely. Move it over to the retrieve handler. All right, so that's what we are about. Ever use the Eventide project retry lib? I have not. I've used, excuse me, the try one. Project retry. Retry an execution that terminates with an error. Any error, a specific one, based on a list of possible errors, once or many times. Oh, that's neat. Yeah, that probably would have been a simpler code fix to what we were doing here. Yeah, I do think we're getting a simpler design though, because we've completely removed an event from the design that we don't need anymore. I do think, yeah, the retrying on it, I think would have been just fine. This being the old design here, the only kind of events that could be written to this stream before a fetched arrives is other requests for it. And like you could get this theoretical, so rare it's never going to happen, where the process may be never completed because requests for that clip kept coming in. I don't think that's like it's logically possible, but not realistic that it would occur. I love this idea of getting rid of the requested event, because by getting rid of the requested event, that's going to simplify a whole lot of logic in the entire component. Because why? We had all this stuff about tracking the state of which requests have previously been made. And we won't need to do that anymore, because no additional handlers will get handled until after we fetch the video. And then at that point, it's just real fast. Hey, cool, we have the record of it. So this design change, I think, will simplify the code a great deal. And that's exciting to me. So what we need to do is make the retrieve handler do the work of fetching and writing the retrieve. So we're going to we won't even have a consumer on our events anymore. Like all of that goes away. And I am pretty excited about that change. So let's pull that up real quick. And so let's see, we want lib. And this is the device video. No, silly me. We're doing tests. So tests, handle automated, handle commands, and retrieve. So requested goes away. So let's move that file. Oh my dear goodness. What's going on here? Here, get move, test, automated, handle commands, retrieve, requested is going to become handle commands. Now, wait a second. Now, this is the one now where we're going to have two different scenarios. Is the diagram publicly available? It should be. If it is not, let me check. Link. Shareable link. I think with this one, I don't want to edit and share. I just want view. Lucid changed, and now they require you to have a Lucid account to view it, which I'm not thrilled about. But that's my best way of publishing it right now. But let me get that into the Twitch chat here. lucidchart.com. And then doing this on the machine that actually runs the stream here. How do you log in? Log in. I guess that would do it. This is why we have all that fun music going on, so that when I'm not talking, there's not the eerie silence. View link copied. All right, cool. So let me, where is the Twitch? Here it is. That is the link to it right there. All right, so I think then what we want to do is basically what? So we still want the same setup in the retrieve handler, but in this case, we're going to want the not previously fetched cases in here. So let's undo that. We're going to do a get move of test automated handle events requested not previously fetched, and we want to send that to test automated handle commands retrieve. Good. Okay, so now we're going to handle the fetched and retrieved case. That is correct. So let me open that test. This is now a handle commands. And then on the left side here, I want the original requested test. Handle commands. So I'm moving things from the left into the right. So handle commands, the command that we'll be handling is indeed retrieve, and it has not previously been fetched. So we would expect to be writing a fetched and retrieved. So let's make some space there. This is our input message, that retrieval, and it would have a device video ID, a device ID, and a start minute. And in this case, we are extracting the workflow as one of our preconditions. And I'm going to delete things over here as we add them to where they need to be. So then we would instantiate our handler. We would exercise our handler, or actuate it rather. Get our reference to the writer. And now we start doing our assertions. So instead of all of that happening from a requested event, we'd still have the same URI. So let's bring that up and put it right there. So we can get rid of all of those. And now I think this is what we would expect. So we would expect to see a fetched and a retrieved with all of these properties on them. So honestly, I think we just move that test over. Let's run it. It will fail because the handler is not doing all that stuff yet. Automated handle commands, retrieve, not previously fetched, fetched and retrieved. So where did we fail? Retrieved.start minute, nil class. That's what we'd expect because we didn't actually write that event. Yeah, that all looks right. Although I believe the assertion. So the fetched would be written to the device video stream. Retrieved is written to the device video stream. Okay, that's right. So we can just pitch this file right here. We don't need it anymore. That was easy. Let's just do that. Clear it out. Git rm test automated handle commands and request. Oh, retrieve requested. Didn't do it because I made changes. So we'll do -F. Come over here, refresh. Now it's gone. And let's close it so we don't actually rewrite it or accidentally. What is device video? Good question. Device video ID is in practice where am I looking at this? Did I miss something? The concatenation of the device ID and the start minute. And it seems like that ought to be present in these retrieve commands. But it is not there. There was a time in the design where I wasn't saving that explicitly because it was derived from the other two. And it just became difficult to work with it in that way. So yes, that's missing from the model there. So let me go in and add that. That is the stream identifier. Put that in there. And then we've got some, oh, that was all the way on the right, wasn't it? Like that, and then put one there. There we go. Now that's updated. And I think as the caller, you don't need to worry about that. Yeah, as the caller, you would just pass in the device ID and the start minute, and then it's in the client library that it does that concatenation for you. So the composite component, the device ID is listed as the, it's the composite there. The device video ID is equivalent to what I have highlighted right now. Maybe that's worth calling out. Will this work? Exactly. Yeah. That's right. So like that collectively is the device video ID. Now, is there a way to rotate this text but leave that sideways? You know what? Just do it with 2 elements. How about? That is the device video ID, like so. And there's a similar thing with the composite, that the composite ID is the concatenation of those other bits of data there. All right, so coming back here to the test, what we need to do is change the handler to do the right thing. So basically now the handler for this is going to look like the handler for the requested event. So let me open the events handler, and we have our requested here. And now we just start merging it. Although this category now is going to be back to device video, not device video requests. So get the ID, get the workflow. But in this case, nope, that is where the workflow comes from. It's right there. And I was pulling out the start minute. Why was I pulling that out? Because we use it when we call the fetch. Okay, so we'll need that separate right there. That's fine. We do the projection. That's all the same. But now there is no notion of requested anymore, which is good. So that entire concept is completely gone. So device video component, and device video is our entity. So we can just come right up here and get rid of the bits about requested. That will break some other tests, but we'll circle around to them when we're at that point. So let's see, this is the command down here, so we can get rid of requested. So if the video has already been retrieved, I'm going to comment that out right now because that is for our idempotence test. So we don't want requested or the workflow or the stream name or this write anymore. So we would just grab the rest of this function method and pull it down, and let's look at it again. So when we handle the retrieve, we're not worrying about the case where it has already been retrieved yet. We have this events array because sometimes this handler will write 2 events, sometimes it will write 1, other times it will bail because it's already done the work. So we make an array to hold whatever events we might write. We're going to set our URI equal to the device video URI. If we haven't yet fetched it, it will be nil at this point. If we have fetched it, we'll set it to where the thing was actually stored. We'll now check to see if we have fetched it. If we haven't, we fetch it, stash the URI in this variable. We're going to make our fetched event and then attach the URI to it and add that to our array of what we're going to write. Then we're going to build our retrieved event, set the URI, set the correlation stream name equal to all these references to requested are now incorrect. So wherever I have requested, we need to change that to retrieve. I could do this with just kind of a find and replace, but I don't want to do that right now. I want to make sure do this with eyes on. So fetched, follow, retrieve. Fetched, okay. Then the retrieved is also going to follow the retrieve that we got. There is no more requested.workflow. I think, if I remember correctly, we pulled out the workflow up here. We did. Okay, good. But in fact, we don't need to manually do this anymore because follow will take care of that for us. So we can just get rid of that line. Events retrieved, stream name, device ID, write events. Okay, I think that should run correctly. Handle commands, retrieve, not previously fetched, fetched and retrieved. It did not. Shoot, what went wrong here? Oh, undefined local variable or method fetch. That's right. That existed on the events handler because that's where we were actually doing the fetching. We've now moved that into the command handler. So we need to also move it into the command handler. And we ran. Excellent. Okay. So that means, coming back to the model, this section of the flow works in the first pass. Now we need to make sure it's idempotent. And if I remember my thinking from yesterday, we don't actually have to make sure it's idempotent right this second because we're dealing with the case where it hasn't previously been fetched. This may be a twist of logic, SB Ditto, but let me know if you agree with this. Let me close the event handler real quick just so we have more screen real estate. Typically, we see 3 tests along with any event handling. The test for the first time you go through it, where you see the resulting message. We do an idempotence one that in the examples has always been called ignored. And then there's an expected version one to make sure we're writing whatever events with an expected version. When we come to the retrieve command handler now, we either have fetched the video already or we have not. So that's what this layer of folder is supposed to be. In a second, we'll copy. Let me just copy that now because I think that will make the reasoning easier. So not copy. We want to git move. And just in case I edited something down there, test automated handle events requested previously fetched. And we want to move that to test automated handle commands retrieve to right there. Oh, the bottom line is covered by the banner. Thank you. There we go. I didn't resize the window properly. So test automated handle commands retrieve. There we go. This folder can now just go away. All right, so the way this is structured, so the typical handle commands, the command that we're handling, and that's then where it would go into the event that we're writing, the ignored and the expected version. But we have 2 different scenarios that we could have in this retrieve handler, that the clip had been previously fetched from the device or it had not. And then within there is where we would see the typical events that you're writing, ignored, expected version. For this handler, though, I don't think we need a separate ignored in the not previously fetched case because the retrieved and the fetched are written atomically. And so we'll never have the case where it was fetched but not retrieved. It will either be fetched and retrieved or not fetched at all. And so in the way that it's coded right now, ooh, that shouldn't say fetched. I want that to say, there's some more code I want from the other handler. 1 second here. Not test lib, device, video component, handlers, events. Right, we were checking to see if we have retrieved it. Wait a second, I'm too far down in the method. Right. Here we go. I did already copy that over. My mistake. Let me close this again. We will have a check to see if the device video has been retrieved for this workflow. And if it has, we'll end there. And since you can't write a fetched without the corresponding retrieved, I think this and the test for it covers the ignored test that you would typically find paired right here. Hopefully that made sense. Let me know if it didn't. But that is why I'm not going to bother putting a separate ignored test in this scenario right here. In fact, because we already have a placeholder for that in the previously fetched one, I'm going to go ahead and just stop. I don't want you to do anything. Get RM, test automated, handle commands, retrieve, ignored. That file can just go away now. That was previously testing to see, or that was checking to write the requested event. Back to fetch. I did, yeah. Oh, yep. Good catch. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, we want it that way. All right. So we can close the entity here, and then that test is good. So test automated, handle commands, retrieve, and not previously fetched expected version. So this is still written as if it were in the commands world. We are handling the retrieve command, not previously fetched expected version. Yes, this one will need to borrow from the test file that we just closed. So I am not consistent with where the handler instantiation appears versus when the message instantiation appears, and I want to standardize on that. And I swear I've chastised myself on the stream before about this and done exactly what I'm doing right now. So let's just look here. We're testing the handler, so it would make sense that the handler would appear first. Kent Beck only tests as much as he needs to in order to have confidence. So if the test doesn't help, then yeet it. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. All right, so regaining my train of thought. Let's come back to, isn't it 8? No, it's 7. Here we go. All right, so handler first. Instantiate the handler, then the message that we're handling. Now, here's where this gets interesting. Our control for the entity has some states in it that don't apply anymore. And I'm trying to figure out, what are we closing? Let's close the handler for now and come up to our controls for the device video. Whoops, I meant to horizontally split that. There we go. So requested is not a state anymore. So new, sure. Module requested is not a thing anymore. We don't have to track that state. So I need one that hasn't previously been fetched before. So I guess this should just be the new example now. We'll roll with that for the time being. May end up later changing that to retrieved. And I think as well what's going to happen is our what am I trying to say? The method by which we track whether or not we've retrieved them is also going to get simpler. Right now we have this hash that can have a bunch of different states. Well, but it can have three. It's not there, it's been requested, or it's been retrieved is what we had before. But we don't need to track two non-nil states anymore. So this won't need to be a hash anymore, which will mean that all of that fussing about we did to make that snapshotable, we won't need that anymore either, because it could just be an array of strings now. Well, no, the hash might be a faster lookup, whatever. That's not what we're worrying about right now. So let's just skip it. So we have an example device video at a particular version. We're going to add it, but this would not be requested. This would be retrieved.device video ID. device video version. We exercise the handler with that retrieve command, and we want to make sure that a fetched was written and that it was written with the correct expected version, and the same with the retrieved. So I believe that test is ready to go now. Let's run it. Automated handle commands retrieve, not previously fetched expected version. Oh, wrong expected version. Now, why is that? Let's open the handler. Here it is. So let's see, we project it with a version, sure. And then we come down here and we write it with that same version. So I did look into it yesterday. We're writing multiple events. When we write the multiple events, we call into messaging write passing the expected version, and we have a batch. The batchiness of it is handled down in the message store writer, not in the messaging writer, and our substitute is at messaging. So we don't need to like keep track of the expected version and increment it or anything for the test, which is nice. I'm still confused why the expected version is different. So I guess we could just put a binding.irb right here. There's been so much talk on Twitter recently. If you need to use a debugger, then you don't know what you're doing. Fair enough. Strange. We did not hit handle commands retrieve, not previously fetched expected version. We did not hit the binding.irb here. Ah, yes, which would suggest that no fetched was written. Is my setup off? Retrieve, not previously fetched, fetched and retrieve. These generally look the same. So let me fix this as we're going along. So go up to the top there, get our retrieve command. And this is where we diverge a little bit. Oh, I see. The ID on the command may not match the ID on the entity. If that's the case, it wouldn't retrieve it properly. So let us look at, time's running out. I was hoping to finish this today, but then I change the design again. So controls, device video, and command. So let's look at our retrieve control. We are pulling that from the device video ID, and the new example. Oh, new doesn't have anything set on it, so that's going to be nil, isn't it? This is interesting. So for this particular test, the way that it's done, we're saying it has not been previously fetched. It wouldn't have an identifier yet, this stream, because there are no events written in it. So there's not a sensible way to, what I'm trying to say, like, the way that this test flows, there's not a sensible way to put in a control where it would have a version at all. Like, there's not a scenario I could write that would even make sense for this. So we'll hack it in the test here. Where do we get the version? Right there. And we'll just say, wait a second, hang on. Shouldn't make a difference. That line of reasoning doesn't even make sense because we deliberately set the device video ID here. We don't actually do anything with this object right here because it's just a new instance of it. And where's the actual handler again? Handlers, commands, pop up here. With a freshly instantiated one, device video and version would be set, and it hasn't been fetched. Device video ID, though, will be nil, won't it? So yes, we do need to actually attach the device video.id is going to be equal to retrieve.device video ID. Don't know if that is the thing, but it certainly didn't help. Okay, well, it's not that. Bummer. All right, I'm willing to go over another 4 minutes here. So let's put a binding.irb right here, figure out what's going on. That's not getting hit. Am I doing... PSP Ditto. Remember to instantiate the right class when you're going to run a test. That's what I didn't do. Have a happy weekend. There we go. Test runs. That's a good stopping place. Silly. Okay. Great. I will take my notes to myself on that. But yeah, let's go ahead and close the stream. Thanks for coming, everyone. Have a lovely weekend. Catch you next time. Happy coding.